We'll speak with the Executive Director for African Center for Digital Transformation really soon. He will be speaking with us very soon. But I was saying what the Commissioner General for the Ghana Revenue Authority, Juliet Siam, says. She says that a system that cuts through bureaucracy and reduces waiting time and puts the power of information and services into the hands of the people. This system will put the power of information and services into the hands of the people, and it will eliminate the frustration, all of the hurdles that you face when you're accessing all of the government services. This citizen app is in to eliminate those hurdles. Good morning, Kwesi Etuahene.
Hi, good morning. Good morning.
Thank you for joining
and thanks
us.
for having me. Good morning to your cherished viewers as well. I have followed the conversation and I believe ABC News, you are doing a wonderful work. Thank you so much for your service to the country.
Thank you, Kwesi. Kwesi, what are your initial thoughts on the citizen app?
Well, I think that's very welcoming, I must say. I have individually led my team at the Africa Center for Digital Transformation late last year, having thought through a few projects that possibly we could propose to governments and subsequent governments. Was one of the things that came up. And in our research, we also found out that it was at the forefront of the government's intention to want to do that. I think that is very welcoming. As a matter of fact, developed countries like the US and Canada were the ones that started promoting Citizen App. Earlier on, they did started to curb crime and have a way of citizens reporting crime in areas that are crime-prone areas. So it's the app that Ghana Police Service can even also take advantage of portions of, aside the fact that citizens can have service fast-tracked with DVLA, passport, and other government officials. It's an app that if it's developed properly with the right codes, the right security, there can be a portion where citizens can report crimes. Especially I picked areas where police stations are a bit distant from each other and all of that. You can just take a picture like WhatsApp, post it there, the nearest police station can pick it up, get the right alerts directed and come to your aid. On the face value of the idea, as a center, we believe that is a very good idea. And it doesn't matter, the government in power should be able to subscribe to it and promote such an idea. In Kenya, for instance, every citizen who lives in Kenya or even live outside of Kenya have access to their app called the Citizen Digital App. And they value their IDs as similar as how we value the Ghana card IDs. So you use similar ID numbers to log in, and if you want a passport, you don't need to go anywhere other on another platform. Just go to the Citizen app. The same app caters for driver's license. The same app ensures that insurance for your vehicles you are getting reminders for it. So in Ghana, for instance, if you have an insurance for your car and it expires, until you get on the road and you are arrested by a police officer and you get reminded, there is no other reminder. But this app can actually remind you if you have a vehicle and say that your insurance expires on this day and on that day, and you need to go and renew it. Otherwise, there will be a penalty of this kind. So on the face value, the app is an amazing. If you permit me, I'll quickly move into some historical antecedents around innovations of digital innovations of this kind in our country. A couple of years ago, we had a brilliant idea of government bringing forth digital address systems, and in 2 weeks' time, we had a contract has been awarded to some people. Every now and then, government is awarding contracts of brilliant ideas of this kind to personalized individual institutions. That is where the problem really is, because apps like Uber, Bolt, Yango, WhatsApp, Facebook have a multi-million ideas that generates lots of money. And therefore, if the government of Ghana is bringing forth an app like this, it should be able to make money for the government. So ideally, this app must sit at the Ministry of Communication and Digitalization or any of the agencies under that ministry. And it must be executed as a government infrastructure, not as a contract that will be awarded to a third party, like we are doing with our Ghana card now, like we did with the digital address systems, and like even now doing with our Ghana passports. Now, when you go to the Ghana Passport Office at the Premium Center, is in collaboration with VFS. VFS is a private entity. So we cannot privatize every portion, every innovation, and let individuals make money out of such innovations. The government must also make money because the government needs money to make sure you are building the right hospitals, make sure you are building the schools, make sure you are creating the jobs. If the government is not making money and individuals are making money, who will build the schools? Who will build the hospitals? Who will build the jobs to employ young people? Please, I hope you understand my point.
Right, Kwesi. Well,
so it's important that Ghanaians and media people, you people are the ones that I can't Becca say, when you say it, they can listen. It's important that we are putting up the right advocacy to ensure that every innovation must not be awarded to an individual. Thank you very much.
Every innovation must not be awarded to an individual. So, Kwesi, you believe that it must sit with government and governments must run it. But Kwesi, in this new app that has been launched, do you think that, or do you believe it will bridge the chasm between the ordinary Ghanaian and government? But before you answer that, Kwesi, we have joining us Palgrave Wachedankwa, Dr. Palgrave Wachedankwa. He is the government spokesperson on governance and security. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and a very good morning to your listeners and viewers, and to Kwesi on the panel as well.
Good morning. So, Kwesi, back to you. Do you believe that this app that has been launched would bridge the chasm between the ordinary Ghanaian and the government services?
Sincerely, I do believe. I think on the face value, like I mentioned, the innovation is not new across the world. Other colleagues in other nations have followed suit, and it has helped. The ordinary Ghanaian, years ago, during the early days of Nkrumah, sometimes there are meetings where presidents, ministers could randomly open their doors for people to go and discuss such issues. In our modern times, people in such positions dare not, because the population has increased, the demands and the request has increased. And therefore, innovations of these kinds has a way of getting us closer to government institutions and persons in charge of it. The app itself can be developed in a manner that can be a bit more beneficiary than perhaps what has been put out now. The Ghana Police Service is one of the biggest institutions, government institutions in Ghana. They can have a space on the app where they don't need to have another app. Once you have a citizen app with your ID there, is enough to make sure that if you are in any situation, you can directly report whatever be the case, and the police can pick it up right from your app. That innovation can be done.
I think that is then. So it's
right. I believe it brings us closer to government institutions, and it can bridge the gap. However, the current situation in our country demands more than just bridging the gap and bringing us closer to government. The current situation in our country is largely bread, butter, and accommodation issues for a greater number of Ghanaians. And I believe the government spokesperson on infrastructure would be able to agree with me, because consistently they are doing the poll, they are collecting the data on what people think, what people say, what people are doing. And those are the prominent things that may be on the table. Well, so just bringing citizens closer may not be enough, but also making sure that the app profits them, and the money that comes from such innovations profit government is also very important. But on a face value, I think the app is a very good idea. It will be profitable to the country, and it will be able to enhance government services
It will be able
board.
to enhance government services. I think it's right that we have Dr. Boakye Danko on the line. You mentioned the Ghana Police Service and how they can leverage the app. Since he is government spokesperson on security, he can throw more light on that. But Dr. Boakye Danko, this app has been launched. What are the primary objectives of the Citizen app? And these objectives, are they aligned with the broader governance goals or specific political agenda?
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad that Kwesi has thrown his support behind government's initiative of ensuring that we have a data interoperability. So just to quickly answer Kwesi on his question of the Ghana Police, when you sign on to the Citizens app, you would find the Ghana Police Service there. So what the Citizens app does is that data will begin to talk to each other. And so it's a data interoperability, just like we have the mobile money interoperability. And so when you fill a passport form and you get your passport, and you're supposed to use the same data that you have to request for a driver's license, you don't need to repeat the filling of the form again, because government has set up a Citizens app where your data from the Ghana Passport Office is in sync immediately to the driver's license union and to be able to get a license. So the Citizens app is a one-stop app where data begins to interact with each other, where data becomes interoperable amongst itself, and also with the data protection regulations, you can be able to protect your data. Elsewhere, you would find that when government needs data from another government agencies, you are talking about regulations, you are talking about data protection, and you're talking about selling of the data. But creating the Citizens app gives government an opportunity to become an intelligent government where you can be able to interact a lot more with government. So on the app, when you go to your Google store and you type Citizens app and you sign in with your Ghana card. When you do your Ghana card, you just need to take a bright picture of yourself where you are, and then it will immediately do your verification and your Ghana card will come on. When your Ghana card comes on and you're signing, on the app, you have SNIT. On the app, you have VAT. On the app, you have property tax. On the app, you have DVLA. On the app, you have Google Address, which is the Ghana address system. On the app, you also have the Ghana Police. So on the app, you also have ECG. You have water. And so for me, this is one of the best things that we can have in Ghana. For many of us who've had opportunities to travel and live outside the country, you realize that this is a one-stop shop where every single data that you need is there. And we want to commend Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, for steering this up. It clearly tells you that in terms of revenue mobilization from the Ghana Revenue Authority, is going to be a lot more easier. And so your slate contributions that is being made by your employer, you can be able to immediately look at it, because every single time you can check how much contributions has been made. So for me, when we went through the processes of building this app for the Ghanaian people, it's not going to be a challenge anymore if you're trying to reach a particular state agency and you're not able to reach it. So for me, the Citizens app is welcomed by the Ghanaian people. We also putting together some SSD that people who do not have smartphones can also be able to use the app and for it to be able to benefit it. So I look forward to the few days where you find fast-paced mechanisms. When the app came yesterday, that was launched by the Vice President, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, I immediately sent the conversations around the world. And Ghanaians who are living in Russia have already downloaded the app. They can immediately interact. People that are living in London have already downloaded the app. They can immediately interact. People that are in America downloaded the app. They are beginning to interact. And so wherever you are in the world, you can even pay your light bill. You can pay your water bill. You can check your SNIT contributions. You can pay your property address system. You don't need to walk to any local office of government to be able to do this. So I'm glad that with all the silos that we had begun, so we set up the address system, which is the Ghana address system. We set up the NIA, we set up the Ghana passport system, we set up the Ghana.gov, we set up ECG, we set up water, we set up property address system. Today, the Citizens app becomes the one-stop shop where all your data can be able to interact with each other. So you get a Ghana card at birth, and then at death as well, you can be able to report your death. And so it's going to clean up all the issues that we have had as it relates to codes names. It's going to clean up all the issues that has arisen even with the voters registration, where there are allegations that are being made with some numbers that are not supposed to be in, where CI 91 regulates and cleans up that mechanism. This app tells you every single thing. So once you are born and you have the Ghana card and you have a Ghana number, when people die as well, you can immediately report that on the app that this person is dead, and you can get your death certificate. One of the exciting things as well is that we know that people marry. When people marry and they need to change their names as well, you don't need to go through a long process. On that app, you can be able to do your change of name. So what we have done is that we have taken you from your birth, and so from your birth, you get a Ghana card number. You go to school. The app would be able to have your data of your academic background, because the app has a place for jobs. So if you're looking for jobs, you can be able to request for jobs on the app, and it has your data in your system. So when you're going for an interview, in the very highest level, you may not even need to take your CV, because the app has sent your CV to people, and it's synced as well. When you finish school and you start doing your national service, I'm just trying to walk you through the process, if you may. When you finish school and you start doing your national service as well, the app has your system, so you're already placed as well. When you start working, your system is in the app. So it's an intelligent government and intelligent thinking. When you start working national service, they start paying your SNIT, so the app is there. When you want to get a property, you start paying your property, and all of that. So for me, I look at the Citizens app as one of the most intelligent apps that government has been able to put together. And I hope that it encourages people to know
one
that
of the
we
most
are
intelligent apps. Dr. Pagribachidankwa, how will government ensure that data is protected? Because this is a lot of personal data going onto one app, an app that anybody can access, government agencies can access. So what are some of the legal frameworks that will govern the app, and how will we make sure that our data is protected? Because one of the issues that rise up more often than not in the country is that my data is not protected, and then I receive a message from an entity I do not know about, a certain company here and there sending me information because they've had access to my data. So how are we going to ensure that there is data protection with the use of this app?
So thank you. There are data protection laws that are in place now. You are aware that Ghana is a fast-paced developing country, and so in the fast-pacedness of our development, there are some existing laws that are being put in place. Just about a week ago, the Cybersecurity Authority also brought up their strategy. They are working very clearly and very well on a legislation that will be able to protect the cyberspace. But we are very much aware that this gives, because you see, you are already filling your form online. Your data is already gone into the system, but this makes it very easy for you to be able to transact government businesses and even go about your ordinary works that you're going to do. So you don't need to refill a form, because it is the consistent refilling of forms that causes your data to leak. And so you don't need to repeat filling your form. I did a renewal of my license, I think about yesterday. I don't have it here readily, but I've shown it to you. I did a renewal of my license, and you can clearly see that it was very easy for me to do my license, because my data is in the system. So what we're trying to do is that we want data to be in the system where you don't need to fill out different forms at different places, like Registrar General, like you go to the bank, like you go to the birth, you go to the birth registry, you go to the death registry, you are married, you want to have a change of name, you're always filling forms. You want a passport, you will have to fill a form. So you're always filling forms. But this app gives you a one-stop shop where you fill your form once, unless there are changes in your place of residence, or there are changes in your name, or all of that. So this is a one-stop shop. It's very intelligent, and your data is protected in this manner than it would have ordinarily been.
Finally, Dr. Boachidankwa, Kwesi mentioned, no, well, I'll ask another question, but let's go to Kwesi's Kwesi's own. Kwesi mentioned
Yes.
that this should be an operation that the government must handle. It shouldn't go to an independent person, one person. And yesterday, the vice president said that it is a completely Ghanaian operation. When he says this, does he say it because government is going to own and run it, or an individual, an independent body is going to run it? Beyond that, what is also the cost involved in this app?
Okay, so I'm aware that government has always been working with local agencies who have the capacity, and we must commend this government because it's taking this government to open up the digital space, and most of our brilliant Ghanaian young men and young women in that space have had a lot of advantage, and we must commend this government. This is a fully owned app by the people of Ghana, by the government of Ghana. Is protected by the government. There are existing partners that we have that we work with, but it's really owned by the people of Ghana, and it's owned primarily by GRA, and it's owned by government, whichever government that is in power. I'm aware that the cost of this was in terms of aggregating, because there were already existing models and apps that were, I think the cost was about either 300,000 or so. I'm aware, about 300,000 Ghana cedis. So it really didn't cost much in trying to aggregate all of these apps, because Kwesi would know all of these apps were existing on their own. And so creating a citizen app and making sure that you have a data interoperability where data begins to talk to themselves and data syncs with itself. It's not one that would cost a lot more than just to be able to make sure that you put the infrastructure in place. So I'm aware that the cost was around 300,000 Ghana cedis. It didn't cost the government that much, but really just to be able to create a mechanism where data will be able to talk to itself and then have an intelligent government.
Okay. Thank you. A mechanism where data will be able to talk to itself. Kwesi, I've left you quiet for a while. Before we go,
Yes.
the government spokesperson for security has given what government sought to achieve with this app. Give us your last words before we go.
Yes, I mean, Dr. Boachi Dankwa is a very good politician. I have watched him a few times on TV, and he's very good with words. So if you don't listen to him quite carefully, you can easily not be able to find vacuums in some of his presentation, because he's a very good politician and with words. But I believe as journalists, there are very important questions that we should ask around this app, and I'll put them out so that other people listening can be able to follow them. It's important that the good people of Ghana find out whether this app have other investors. It's a very important question. It's also important to find out who is responsible for maintaining the app. Who would be responsible? Is it GRA, or who is developing the app? Who owns the PV, the intellectual property codes? Who owns it? Is the app an open source, or is not an open source? So those questions around it, the data that are accumulated by the app, how will they be treated? Who owns it? Because I believe that GRA is not inclined towards producing an app, and therefore they may consult other institutions to produce the app. So it's important that the people of Ghana, because this app belongs to them and is the resources available to the government of Ghana that is being used to execute this project, it's important we understand the dynamics of these questions, because oftentimes these innovations on the face value may be a very good idea, which I believe it is, but the components around it, who controls the monetization of the app? Does the app have any investor? Is it an open source app? Are the codes available for other developers to contribute to it? If someone has an alternative idea, a brilliant idea, can the person add to it? And all those components, it's very important that if those things are not addressed before we put the app there for a greater number of Ghanaians to use it, eventually successive governments may find it difficult to control good ideas that other previous governments have brought forth. And I believe that has been one of the difficulties we've had in the country, that we don't ask the questions in a whole. We ask some of the questions and we are enthused about the good parts of it. Meanwhile, there are other parts that are not communicated publicly. So it's important that those questions are put to bear so that government spokespersons like Dr. Palgrave can bring to bear the details of that bit. Okay. So thank you very much for having me, and I'm grateful.
Well, Kwesi, Dr. Boachidankwa, then you won't just leave now. Whilst Kwesi has asked some very pertinent questions, I believe you would love to give him some answers. Who owns the app? Who is running the app? Who owns the intellectual, the IP of the app?
Well, Kwesi says that he's been watching me, and I'd like to thank him for those compliments. As well, he says that I'm a very wonderful politician, and I would like to thank him for that as well. My dear sister, the app and the ownership of the app and the questions that Kwesi has asked are really very good questions. We are aware that it's been built by local Ghanaians. Haptel, the name Haptel, has been built by local Ghanaians, and so I'm very certain that a sizable part of, in terms of software, and we know that the government also has an intellectual property angle as well. So it's in partnership, but the stronger ownership is the government of Ghana that owns the app. But in terms of software creations and the codes, it's by Haptel. But one of the things that I can assure Kwesi of is that if there are other inputs that young people who are involved in the digital space and in the software space want to be able to add on, it's very open for them to be able to add on. But there's a strong working team at the data center, the Ghana.gov center, and the Citizens App Center that can be able to bring some clarity to some of the questions that Kwesi has asked. But I mean, this is what I would have to say to it.
Boachidankwa is government spokesperson on security and governance, and Kwesi Etuahene is the executive director for Africa Center for Digital Transformation. Thank you, gentlemen. We are most grateful for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us. Thank you very much.
So we're joined by Dr. Palgrave Boachidankwa and Kwesi Etuahene on this conversation on the Citizen app that was launched yesterday by the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana.